serious concern in the White House.
And so she started threatening her.
And there is now new speculation about whether Melania was only a model.
They now feel that she has become a huge liability.
Covering what the corporate media covers up. The Trump White House is starting to worry about First Lady Melania Trump and, shall we say, her suspicious past with Jeffrey Epstein and her equally suspicious statement made a few weeks ago claiming to barely know Epstein. Ghislaine who? This, according to author and kind of Trump whisperer Michael Wolff, who's written several books about Trump, had access to the Trump White House in the first term, still talks to insiders in the Trump White House. And he's talking to them, and they are very, shall we say, worried about liability when it comes to Melania Trump.
They now feel that she has become a huge liability. And they kind of trace this, and they connected first to Epstein, and that, I'm going back a number of months, and I guess I am somewhat involved with this and in connecting her to Epstein, which is why she threatened to sue me, why I am suing her, and we can get into that again, of course.
So if you don't know the history there, Trump, who threatens to sue everyone, Trump and Melania Trump threatened to sue Michael Wolff because he has reported, based on, for years, he befriended Epstein essentially to get access, kind of find out where the bodies were buried. Epstein was a major source for his books on Trump. Wolff had reported that Epstein was the one who introduced Melania to Donald Trump, not Paolo Zampoli, the sleazeball Italian modeling agent who Melania claims introduced her to Donald Trump. Michael Wolff called their bluff and said, "Oh, you want to sue me? All right, I'm going to countersue you." And now is waiting for a judge decision on whether there will be discovery, which the Trumps do not want. They don't want Michael Wolff to actually get a positive ruling from a judge that would force them to hand over emails and other documents. And Michael Wolff has gotten a whole lot of money through GoFundMe and donations from, frankly, anti-Trump resistance folks to call the Trumps bluff. But Wolff went on further to explain that Trump insiders and people he's speaking to at the White House are not only worried about liability with Epstein when it comes to Melania Trump, but are concerned about liability in relation to Paolo Zampoli. That's that sleazeball Italian modeling agent who basically was responsible for getting Amanda Ungaro, the former Brazilian model, deported last year, Zampoli called in a favor to the president, and ICE then deported his ex, who he was in a custody battle with. And there's speculation about Melania's relationship with Paolo.
Her inexplicable news conference, if we want to call it a news conference, of a couple of weeks ago, in which she managed to squarely put herself into the Epstein story. So everybody within the White House, it's like, oh my God, the Melania situation is a real problem. And it has raised all kinds of questions about their marriage, about actually how she came to this country, about the nature of her relationship with Trump and with this guy Paolo Zampoli, and that of course has now come out in the last couple of weeks. So Melania is seen as a problem, and the Kimmel response was actually an effort to gain some sympathy. But even now, what are we, 24 hours out after that, maybe somewhat more, in the White House, and this is conversations that I actually had this morning, there is now the feeling that has kind of screwed up, and rather than engender sympathy, it's just drawn the lines, drawn more attention to her, more attention to their peculiar marriage, or maybe not quite marriage at all. And again, the Melania of it all is under now has now become a matter of serious concern in the White House.
Serious concern in the White House. Some key takeaways from what he said there. Concerns about how she came to this country. In recent interviews, Amanda Ongaro, the former Brazilian model who was friends with Melania and Donald Trump for decades through her relationship with modeling agent Paolo Zampoli, who brought Melania over here to America. Amanda talked about how Melania worked illegally for a long time without a visa, without U.S. citizenship, how she got a sweetheart visa called the Einstein visa, which is usually, meant for and provided for actual geniuses, which Melania Trump is not. And there is now new speculation about whether Melania was only a model in relation to some of these high-end folks like Paolo Zampoli, the modeling agent who brought her over here and represented a lot of young girls, and allegations he tried to do more than represent them. Italy's public broadcaster Rai came out over the weekend with a clip. They obtained audio of Paolo Zampoli basically bragging to some UN person in 2017 about how he helped the Trumps kill and get taken down a 2017 Daily Mail story, basically alleging that Melania Trump had worked as an escort. Listen to this.
The paper for the press, the first lady used what they wrote in her speech and stuff like this. With the Daily, they just win a huge case. I cannot talk about it because I have a confidentiality and I need to get the check. We just won it last week. And I'm in this country because of President Trump. I started real estate. I built a beautiful house. Trade a friend.
It's a little hard to hear, so let me read you the translation. I wrote the paper for the president and for the first lady. What I wrote in a speech with the Daily Mail, they just win a huge case. I cannot talk about it because I'm in confidentiality and I need to get the check. We just won it last week. And I'm in this country because of President Trump. He fucked up. I started in real estate. I built a beautiful house. Inaudible, betrayed a friend. The inaudible part was bleeped out. I think it said, I've never fucking betrayed a friend. He also went on to talk about a deal he made with Melania Trump. It seems in relation to helping kill that escort story in return for the Trumps offering him protection. Take a listen.
Donald Trump knows. He threatened his friend Paolo, which they consider his family, and his wife is not a prostitute. Maybe she has not the most fluent American accent. Maybe she poses naked like many models, but she's a good girl, okay? So you don't want nobody call your fucking wife a prostitute when she's the mother of your kid. And Melania told me, Paolo, don't worry, you have our back. Everything that happens, we protect, okay? Then 2 weeks later, they won the election, and that's it.
Again, the translation, Donald Trump knows he trusts in his friend Paolo, which they consider me family, and his wife is not a prostitute. Maybe she is not the most fluent American accent. Maybe she posed naked as a lady model, but she's a good girl, okay? So you don't want nobody calling your fucking wife a prostitute when she's the mother of your kid. And Melania told me, Paolo, don't worry. You have our back. Everything that happened, we protect, okay? Then 2 weeks later, they won the election, and that's it. I don't have any information. We can't confirm, add anything to accusations of what Melania Trump was or was not, but it's very clear it still doesn't make sense why Melania Trump came out when nobody in the media was even talking about her in relation to Jeffrey Epstein and just gave some preemptive mea culpa about, I don't know Jeffrey Epstein, I had nothing to do with it. At the same time that this former Brazilian model was talking to other media outlets, including Spain's El País, which we believe Spain's El País reached out to the White House for comment about something Amanda Ongaro had said to the paper about Melania. And that's why Melania made that statement, kind of preempting what she thought was going to be damaging information that came out. And I want to stress the word liability. Michael Wolff talked about how the White House is thinking about Melania Trump as a liability. Well, there's a variety of different definitions and interpretations of liability, but you could also look at it as legally a liability. Well, why would they legally think she's a liability, or at least politically think she's a liability. Let me play you. This is an interview. Nina Burley, an investigative journalist with Courier News, she recently interviewed Amanda Ungaro, and she talked about Melania Trump's kind of out of nowhere Epstein denial. And according to her, she believes that lawyers wrote that statement for her.
We will be revealing all that she's told us. But she basically, Melania just didn't give her the time of day. And so she started threatening her, and she gave an interview to the Brazilian news, and then she gave an interview to a Spanish newspaper. And I believe in the Spanish newspaper, El País, she did talk to them about Melania before this Melania statement came. And I think El País called the White House. There's nothing in the public piece that has Melania in it, but according to Amanda, she talked to them about Melania. So I think that phone call from the media instigated the mysterious 6-minute statement, which, by the way, totally written by lawyers. That is not, she can't pronounce some of those words. You can hear her mispronouncing words, and she's stumbling over the words. And if you read them closely, it is 100% legal. It's a legal threat to whoever's going to speak out.
And that person is Amanda.
And that person is Amanda. And Amanda is, it's basically Paolo Zampoli, the weak link. He knows everything about this demi-monde that out of which they come. He was a participant in it with Jean-Luc Brunel. He was in business with Epstein, according to Amanda.
I can tell you, I'm not a lawyer, but I've been a journalist for 2 decades, and I sure know when lawyers are involved and they're writing statements, it's not because they're wonderful writers or are grammatical experts. It's because they're trying to protect their client, who they think could have some exposure legally, or if not legally, at least in the court of public opinion. So why would Melania Trump, I understand her English isn't great, but why would she need lawyers to write her statement if they don't know something about her past circa Jeffrey Epstein? Important questions. But Michael Wolff, a lot of people, think he's kind of a tabloid journalist, but he's been dead on about Trump, Epstein. He has revealed a whole lot of where the bodies are buried, and he does have sources within the Trump White House. So if he's saying they're starting to panic, that they want to throw Melania overboard, take it to the bank.